Today I learned that Candy Crush Saga is play tested by a deep learning algorithm. So they test Candy Crush using a CNN. Interesting. Oh, there actually is good convergence, good accuracy. That's interesting. We can now estimate the difficulty of a new level in less than a minute and can easily scale the solution at low cost. This is neat. So if you're wondering what the heck's going on, Candy Crush, you know, that game your mom or your dad plays. Basically, it's like a puzzle game, but there's some time to it. So it requires you to think quick and also just pattern match. The brain loves patterns. So here with Candy Crush, the idea of a playtester is like, well, is this level good? Is it too hard? What is it? And then you need like a bunch of different player levels, right? Like you need the novice. How quickly does the novice fail out? How quickly does an expert fail out, right? And then you need all the levels in between. So how did it used to happen? Well, you'd have like 10 or 20 players of a level or a game, and they would tell you feedback, and that would be what you went with. That was like, okay, well, these 10 people liked it, go to market, you know? Now, given our technology, we can actually test at the very least for difficulty more accurately than what we used to do, right? And that's literally with human-like playtesting and deep learning. So they train a model. So it's all like it's a game on your phone, right? So you take your phone and you do something, and that data gets transmitted back to the company, right? So with all that data and with all like the leveling that they have for players, they actually make really accurate models for a novice, for an intermediate, for just generally a casual player, for a player who's addicted to the game. They're able to say, all right, well, let's take the model and see how well that type of player would perform. So they create this neural net. This is a convolutional neural net. And they basically train an agent. In this case, an agent is just another word for a human-like player or a person who's play testing, right? So they're AI play tester, and they fit this regression model, the CNN, into a regression, and then it predicts the human success rate for a new level, right? So now we're not just talking about, hey, let's bring my 10 friends in and like judge whether or not this game is going to be good given my 10 friends. It's saying we have a database of players. Let's see how good each of the stratifications, each of the tiers of players, each of the clusters of players would perform on this particular level or game or whatever, right? So this is really interesting because you're leveraging data that you've collected from your player base. Since you've minimized time in one area, now you could spend more time iterating and getting to like better level construction later, right? We've talked about flow, and video games are flow engines, okay? So the easiest way to explain flow is the difficulty of the game or the task and your experience, right? And theoretically, if you're really experienced in something like Candy Crush, but the difficulty isn't too high, right? You live in this threshold over here, right? And this is boring. Now, if it's too hard and you're not very experienced, then you live in this sort of threshold over here. And this is like not experienced enough, too difficult, this is frustrating. But in the middle, this is where like video games try to land you, right? You start gaining a lot of experience fast and the difficulty ramps up. And you kind of like get through a video game like this. What this is sort of like a flow engine. We call this sort of the area of flow. If we drew a straight line through this, optimal experience meeting the difficulty of the challenge, this would be your flow. Oh man, like I just played this video game and 4 hours went by. Or I just went out dancing and like I spent 6 hours dancing. So there's a lot of moments where you've probably experienced flow, and you might not have called it that, but you might have called it something like in the zone or activity high, right? So like runner high. How does that relate here to our Candy Crush example? Well, the object is if you want to maximize someone's flow state, if you want to make someone feel like there's no time and that time is limitless, create some sort of flow engine. Make sure that the difficulty is matching the skill of your player. And the more you do that, the longer time they spend in your app. This is sort of the advantage of data science, of neural nets now. Things that like are integral in production, but no one really, they're never going to get the spotlight for something like this, right? But it is important. It really is important. So this is cool. I like applications like this of data science and in sort of like the nitty-gritty development of it all.
Oh, I don't know any baseball players.
Name one baseball player.
Jason Baseball?
Jason Baseball. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a Jason. Jason sounds familiar.